presentation today is going to be on an analysis of laws in Iran and Morocco and how those laws correspond to gender, politics, and culture. And my name is Bridget Bunt. First, I'm going to go over the abstract of the presentation. What I'm going to be discussing in today's presentation is how the laws in Iran and Morocco both affect gender politics, and even though both Iran and Morocco started off in very similar circumstances, each country decided to take a different route with how they should function more on a daily basis. As a result of this extensive influence of religion within the countries, women must abide by some gender roles. And in both of these countries, Islam is the official religion, for which there is many overlapping ideas, but Morocco has tended to stream off to be more modern and follow more modernization, whereas Islam follows very traditional roots. So that's what we're going to be discussing in today's paper: how is women's rights in correspondence to religion play a significant factor in the lives of women in Morocco and Iran. And we're also going to be discussing how has culture and tradition been both preserved and modernized through the laws. Next, we're going to be going over some background information surrounding what was discussed in the paper. A little bit of background information surrounding Iran and Morocco is that Iran has 88.55 million people and Morocco has about 37.46 million people. The HDI rate of Iran is the Human Development Rate, which basically is a statistical scale that analyzes life expectancy, education in terms of citizens' years of schooling, and per capita of the income of the citizens. Basically, this scale is in terms of comparing countries from one another, and it is used to rank countries based on what they deem as being the Human Development Rate. So there is the Human Development Index rate is 0.774 for Iran, and the Human Development Index rate for Morocco is 0.683. And the main religion in both of these states is Islam. And something similar between the two of them is that each of them had a codification or a family law reform in some sort of sense. So in Iran, in early times of the reform, it occurred in around the 1930s, and it basically shows a trend for the desire for women to receive more rights and the acknowledgement that they do not really have in those countries. And then in Morocco, the family law code was known as Moudawa, and this led to the women's rights being expanded, which then allowed new opportunities in education to be open. And I'll discuss this a little bit further in the presentation as we get going into the presentation. So next, we're going to be going over the legal system in both Iran and Morocco. So in Iran, there was a codification of family law that occurred between 1931 and 1955. And basically, it was in context of modernizing policies of the Reza Shah Pahlavi. And he was an Iranian military officer and politician who also served as the Minister of War and Prime Minister, and the first Shah of the House of Pahlavi of the Imperial State of Iran, and the father of the last Shah of Iran. And this basically aimed to create a modern centralized judicial system on a Western model. And this effort succeeded, and most areas of law where European legal concepts and codes were adopted. And so essentially, the legal system there is also based on Islamic law in the Sharia. And in Morocco, there was also a family law code. And in 1958, the newly independent Morocco adopted Moudawana, a traditional code of family law that legitimized practices like polygamy and forced marriage, and also contributed to the subjection of Moroccan women. And this was led by L'Union de l'Action Féminine, a reformist movement that took shape and basically through the actions as the 1992 1 million signatures petition, which made progress towards gender equality in family law and other sectors of law. And these basically accumulated in the Moudawana, the Personal Status Code reform of 2004. And so with that, this is allowed, again, new women's rights to be expanded. and also contributed to new opportunities in education and other areas to be opened. And the country uses a combination of a variety of ideals with the Islamic laws. Proceeding forward, I'm going to be discussing the religion in Iran and Morocco. So even though both are based on Islamic laws, Iran is predominantly Shia Muslim, where in Morocco is predominantly Sunni Muslim. So Sunni Muslims will agree with many of the Prophet's companions at the time of the death. So this essentially means that the new leader should be elected from those among who could be capable for the job. And Shia Muslims believe that following the Prophet Muhammad's death, leadership should pass directly to his cousin and son-in-law, Al bin Abu Talib. Throughout history, Shia Muslims have not recognized the authority of elected Muslim leaders, and basically choosing instead to follow a line of imams, which they believe had been appointed by the Prophet Muhammad or God himself. And Iran also believes in a legal system based on these Islamic laws in the Sharia, and that religions are not as prevalent, and other religions that are not as prevalent or common among people within the state are Christians and Baha'is. And basically, sources have said that they don't really get a say, and they're slowly being pushed out of society. And in Morocco, many of its traditions are coming from French and Spanish historical ties, as the country uses a combination of a variety of ideals within the Islamic State or within Islamic laws. And the main religion for the French and Spanish during the time were Catholicism and Christianity, which is very influential on both on Moroccan laws. And as we can see, it has kind of changed and modernized the way that these laws have been, and how religion, even though religion is very traditional in many of these places through the Quran, that modernization from these places has allowed a new sector of generational change to be brought in. Next, we're going to be discussing the evolution of dress in Morocco. So as we can see in the image, they are very covered, but on the other end, they are not wearing a hijab, which is one of the things that is not required in Morocco, which is a big difference, as we'll see, than in Iran. So typically, it is deemed as being a more modern dress. People dress more modern over there, and they're also following and respecting cultural and traditional dress while doing so as well. And the dress has evolved over a variety of time, and even though other countries who also follow Islamic religions are more strict when it comes to these laws that are imposed on women, so they're kind of taking that evolution, even though they're also still following the Quran, as we see. Modernization, they're also the modernization and targeting of numerous equality issues have been prevalent factor in pushing the equal treatment within society. Next, looking at and comparing Iran with the evolution of dress. As we can see in the image, they're a lot more covered, their hair is covered, as they are required to wear the hijab. And so women are required to cover their hair and wear long clothes that cover their body so their figure cannot be seen. And they also could face imprisonment for up to 2 months for breaking these Iranian laws. So when comparing that to Morocco, we can see that Morocco is a little bit more modernized when it comes to dress, as they've interpreted the Quran differently. So it's fascinating to see how the future will evolve with the dress and to see if anything will change with future generations. In conclusion, as societal normalities tend to shift through generational changes, there will always be standing traditions that carry forth with the society. And as we've shown, both countries face similar situations with women's rights and correspondence. Both had significantly different outcomes. And then moving forward with women's rights in regards to countries where religion is a prevalent factor in various aspects of their society, there needs to be more resources in terms of more legal reformations, education for all citizens, and collaborations with international parties. while also monitoring policies for all citizens to be heard and equal. As modernization has also been a driving factor that's creating ideas while still upholding the tradition, the future is very unclear for what will change. And as we've seen in other countries such as Morocco, when the reforms began, women were given more rights and opportunities, and it is unknown how much political reformations will occur. But if numerous societies push for modernization, then it could be likely to occur in the future with new generations.